quite a week, hasn't it? I don't know about you, but whenever there's news like we have had this week, as a business owner, I start to get a little bit on the anxious side. The last thing I want in any part of my life is chaos, and at the moment we have it aplenty all over the place. So I wanted to talk today a little bit about that, and also a little bit about how connection is actually what we need more than ever right now to be successful business owners. In the society that we live in, individual achievement is the number one thing that seems to be pushed more and more in our politics, in our education system, even in sport. Even team sports celebrate the star player. We can name probably very few players on a football team, but we can always name the star player. And so we've stopped valuing as much the idea of connection and group achievement. And I couldn't be more thrilled to be following Danielle and then be sandwiched between Danielle and Tash, because business sits, and successful business, all the businesses that I've seen have success over the years, sit firmly in this idea that connection is where the success lies. The reason I say that is because over the years I've been now working in business for 30 odd years. They've been very odd years. Throughout that time, more and more I see that there is no one person, there's no one type of person that can have success as a business owner. I have seen people with ADHD, with autism, with dyslexia. I've seen people who are incredibly shy. I've seen people who are massive extroverts. I've seen people who struggle to focus on more than one thing for 30 seconds. All have success in business. I've seen people who totally doubt themselves have success in business, right through to the most confident people that we fully expect to have that success. There is no one type of person that will have success in business, and when you look at the variety of successful people in the world, there is no one single factor that has led to that success. What the common factor is for me is the connection, is the relationships that those people build up. Because when they really understand that team is what it's all about, that connection with other businesses, connection with themselves and connection with community is the key, the secret to success. So I want to talk about those three things very briefly today. And the first thing I want to talk about is connection with yourself. This is my key point today, is that connection creates success in business. And the first thing that you need to do as a business owner, how many people here are solo business owners? I know Danielle just asked you that. When you're solo business owner, you are hardcore. There is nothing harder. I've been doing this, I've been business coaching for 9 years, and there is nothing harder than solo business ownership. You are doing all the things. And one of the things that happens is you lose connection with yourself. And when you become disconnected with yourself, you become disconnected with why you are in business. You become disconnected with the reason that you're here. You become disconnected with your own well-being. You become disconnected with your own finances. Because once you're disconnected with yourself and why you're in business, and you become disconnected from that business, then the sort of finances happening over here, and it's like, I don't want to have anything to do with that, and you're busy serving your clients or trying to over here. Connection with yourself is the starting point for you to be confidently able to connect with clients and with other businesses. And if the success of business is to be connected with clients and making money, and connected with other businesses that can support and help us and further the cause that we feel so passionate about, we must remember to stay connected with ourselves. Connection with yourself is not something that I can tell you exactly what to do, but here are some principles for you to stay connected with yourself. The first thing is to value yourself enough to remember that that connection is the most important thing. We often look at everybody else being the most important thing in our business. You know, the clients, the marketing, the finance, the family, we've got multiple things. And then once we start working with dogs, kind of takes over your life. And the dogs become the most important thing. And we forget to stay connected with what we're doing. So the first thing is to value yourself. Your business is totally reliant on you. You are in a symbiotic relationship with your business. Everything that happens in your business will affect you. And everything that happens to you will affect your business. So it's a good idea to keep both of you healthy. You need to keep the business healthy, and in order to do that, it starts with you. You have to keep yourself healthy. In your business, you are the number one. You are the most important thing. And I don't care if you don't go away with anything else from this talk. You are the most important person in your business if it's going to be successful. And the sooner you learn to really value yourself enough and trust that and look after yourself like the number one, the more healthy your business will be. The second thing is a follow-on from that, and that's we've got to learn how to let go of guilt. We've got to stop feeling guilty about looking after ourselves. So that starts with noticing what happens when we start to try and look after ourselves. What do you notice comes up for you when you say, I am just going to take 10 minutes for myself. I'm going to put a bit longer between one client and the next client so I can stop for a coffee somewhere. I am going to spend this little bit of time doing whatever it is. It doesn't have to be. To stay connected to yourself, you don't have to be doing a lot of complicated things. You need to give yourself a moment to remind yourself that you are the most important thing, to notice what your physical and mental, emotional state is, and to do then what you need to do to be operating at your best. And I know Tash is going to be talking more about that. So the number one thing for me in this whole thing is to stay connected with yourself. Stay connected why you are doing what you're doing. What really matters to you. You don't all have to be superstars to make a huge difference. And Danielle has talked about that, and I'm going to mention it again in a minute. But the next thing you're probably going to want from me more than anything is about how you connect with the community, and the community that you most want to connect with is potential clients. Let's face it, if you want to work with dogs and make a difference in dogs' lives, you need to connect with dog owners. We need to connect with guardians, with people who have dogs, so that we can work with them and make a difference. So if we're going to have joy in our businesses, the joy comes from having financial stability and doing the thing that we love doing, surely. So we must make sure that we get out there and connect with the community that we most want to work with. And one of the things I know Danielle has just mentioned is the frustration that people who don't believe what we believe in dog training seem to be such a loud voice. It can be very, very frustrating. And I often say that, unfortunately, the force-free world seems to have taken that into their marketing as well as their training. And one of the things I'd love to see you do is stop being so force-free in your marketing. You need to believe. You need to believe that when you open your mouth and you speak, other people who believe what you believe will be attracted to you. And the people that don't believe what you believe, that's why what Danielle said is so important. And I'm just going to come on to it, but I'm going to blur the lines between this point and the next point. If we don't come together and support each other, then those of us that when we do put our heads above the parapet, we need to have confidence that the community is behind us. Because there are people who would love to be a bigger voice for force-free training. But They hide. They hide because they're afraid of their own community. And I see it so often. I remember years ago when I started working with Nat, she put a loose lead walking video on her lovely page. She was brilliant at doing them. And trainers in her world criticised the video because the dog was walking ahead of her. It was Gru, wasn't it? I was heartbroken for her because in my world that doesn't happen. If I post something, 15 other business coaches will go, that's fantastic. We have to be, even if somebody's doing something and we don't completely think it's perfect, so what? We've got to give each other the confidence that we will rise up as a community when somebody steps out and tries something. And if you really disagree and if you really think that it's unhelpful, why not tell them privately? We need to believe that what we are doing is better. It's better for people. It's better if you're training your dog in a way that makes you feel good as a person, surely. If you have to use techniques that make you feel horrible inside because you can see that your dog is afraid, that's not good for people. It's certainly not good for our pets. So we need to believe that what we have is better, and let that belief really rise up and let you get out there with the level of courage and confidence that you have right now. I'm not asking you all to pop out there and suddenly do 1 million videos and be front stage, but in your community, you can connect with your community. You can connect with the people around you locally who need to hear this message. And that's what is for success in your business. You need to connect with the community of people that want to work with you. You need to connect with people that have pups. You need to connect with people that have dogs. And the way that you do that is to get into your local community. You do not have to be social media superstars. Get in your local community. And my final point is to connect with other businesses. The Pact team, I get really emotional when I talk about them because they are my longest standing clients and they are the reason that I am also a business coach. When I started my first business, I had severe mental health difficulties that had come out of working in a toxic environment. And I started my first business to escape that environment. Literally, it was a life raft. I had no plan at all. So don't worry if you don't have a plan and you're winging it. We're all winging it. And 18 months in, I was even more miserable because the first business I started, I hated. I was actually going into businesses helping to work with toxic teams and fix them. That was a really great idea. I got a dog because I needed help to get out of my own house. And I got a beagle. I'd always wanted a beagle. I knew what I was getting. I had investigated. And I found an amazing place called Scallywags. Sally's here somewhere. Called Scallywags. And I heard about that place because everybody was talking about Scallywags, and there was no social media at the time. But everybody was talking about Scallywags. And that's right, you don't have to be a social media superstar. You just have to be great at getting into your community. I met Nat through Scallywags. And I met Nat at my second lot of classes. And Nat and I got talking, and we connected. And I connected with her about more than just dogs. And we connected about business and life and mental health and stuff. And at the same time, my business coach was saying to me, you should do business coaching. Stop doing what you're doing, do business coaching. And to cut this long story very short, because I'm completely out of time, Nat introduced me to, obviously, Jay at one time. You can see the picture there, we're all there. To another dog trainer called Carrie, another dog business called Carrie Sadler, and to Stephen Corrie. Because they believed in collaboration, not competition. And they live less than 3 miles apart. And Nat wanted them to have business advice from me to grow their business. And less than a mile away from Nat was Carrie. And Nat wanted Carrie to have business advice too, to grow her business. Because Nat believes in collaboration. Now it's hard sometimes, I know. We have to keep an abundant mentality that there is plenty of work out there. And there is. If you look at the number of dogs out there, there's so much I want to say on this topic. But if you look at the number of dogs that we now have out there, there's no room for competition, we must collaborate. And what has grown out of that, I've now been with this gang for 7 years. And what has grown out of that is phenomenal. Who knew, when we first started, where this would go? And so I want to leave you with the thought that connection is the key to your success. It's not competition. You need to believe in what you're doing. Let today inspire you to create that belief that when we come together, we can make a much bigger voice, a much bigger difference. It's not the single shining lights. Not everybody has heard of the Southend Dog Trainer. Not everybody has heard of Graham, whoever he is, or Caesar, whatever his name is. Before I knew this lot, I never heard of any of those people. And I talk to people all the time. When I started studying with PACT, I got a little group of friends together and I said, I'm going to teach you something that's a bit different to Graham Thingy-do Thingy. They said, who? He's on the telly. Not everybody's heard of those people. We need to remember that and keep it in perspective. But most of all, we need to remember that when we connect together, when we form a network, big network of people that believe what we believe, we will subdue that message and it will go into the background. It's never going to go away completely. Business coaches I know talk utter shite. That message is never going to go away completely. I hear people talking about six-figure formulas all the time. But we can subdue those messages when we work together. The key to your business success is connection. So make the most of that today. Come together, enjoy that connection, and thank you very much for listening to me for this slightly extended talk.